I want to make one thing clear before we start. I will not be discussing the new live-action Little Mermaid in this video. One, because I haven't seen it, and two, because I don't care to. I was not emotionally attached to the animated film whatsoever. I've only seen it like once, and so on top of my anti-live-action remake stance, I also just don't care for the original story at all, so why would I see it redone? All that being said, let's get into the video. Oh, live-action remakes. I have so many thoughts. This is a genre that has popped up in the last few years. Specifically, it started when Maleficent came out in 2014, which was kind of a reimagining of Sleeping Beauty by Disney, but from Maleficent's perspective instead of Aurora's. I personally really liked Maleficent when I saw it. I even dressed up as her for Halloween. I doubt I have any pictures, but we essentially just bought a vampire costume and then got me devil horns and glued black ribbon around the horns, and no one understood what I was trying to be, but I knew. All that being said, the idea of a live-action remake was a little jarring even when I was that age. Everyone knew Disney just wanted a cash grab and to make easy money off of a story everyone already knew, so immediately there was this feeling of, what about original films? We want original films as well. Following Maleficent, the live-action Cinderella came out, which I personally really love. I think it's a good story. I think they expanded on the original in good ways. The costumes are beautiful. I think all the actors do a great job. And overall, it's just a very good movie, in my opinion. And then Disney just kept doing live-action remakes. I haven't seen all of them, but I will not be discussing the live-action Lion King, which arguably calling it live-action is ridiculous. It's just animated. And I will also not be discussing the live-action Dumbo that they made forever ago, or the other various ones that have kind of come out since. Let's move on to the one that really kind of got to me. Live-action Beauty and the Beast. There are a lot of messy things about this movie. The one everyone talks about is the dress. I don't mind the dress, but it definitely is a downgrade in comparison to the original. And obviously you're going to compare it to the original because it's the original just done in a different format. Obviously the actors do a good job in their roles, like, it's fine. But it's not great, whereas the original is still considered pretty great. It loses a lot of its glamour, taking it out of the animated context, I feel. And one thing that particularly bothered me about this one is that they made it a musical. Maleficent and Cinderella were, I don't want to say more realistic, because Maleficent still has magic and is a fairy. However, it does take a different approach to the story. Hi, editing Sappy here. I didn't phrase this very well in the video, so we're just going to redo this part, but essentially what I was trying to say was that while these films are not realistic in the sense that, you know, there's still fairies and magic being used, they do take a more grounded and realistic approach as far as tone. They're a little more mature, which I feel fits well when you translate it from an animated to a live-action context. However, Beauty and the Beast felt more like a direct copy and paste from the original while losing all of the charm that the animated movie had. Additionally, making it a musical loses some of that realistic tone that we gain by making it a live action and seeing real people's faces instead of animated faces. And for me, that really bothered me. I was like, well, why would I watch this one when I could watch the original? Flash forward a few months, and the live action Aladdin comes out. I'm getting really sick of remakes at this point. I don't go see it. Eventually, Disney Plus comes out. And my friend who didn't have the streaming service at the point knew that the live-action Aladdin was on it and she wanted to watch it. So I was like, okay, we'll watch it together. Movie night, let's do it. So we watched it and I actually did enjoy the movie. However, again, it's just not the original. I went back and watched the original, which by the way is like a half hour to an hour shorter. And it was just so much better. I felt the characters were more developed. The singing was way better. Again, they made it a musical. Again, copy and paste from the original. They just feel so soulless. Okay, editing Sappy again, because I realized I forgot to mention how I felt about Mulan. Now, the Mulan remake is not a copy and paste of the original movie, which is something that really excited me when, like, the trailer started coming out and advertisements for the movie were coming out. However, when I actually saw it, which, by the way, we spent money to see this, even though it wasn't in theaters, the characters were so flat. They lost a lot of emotional depth for the movie, and they did a very poor job developing Mulan's character. So while there were some scenes I liked and the costumes were better, and again, I did appreciate that they tried to do a different take on the story, it was still very disappointing and again, very soulless. With Disney doing all these live action remakes and them doing very well at the box office, other studios have started to follow suit, and I don't approve. DreamWorks has announced a live action How to Train Your Dragon movie. This one's not a live action remake, but recently HBO announced a remake of the Harry Potter movies, however this time as a series. And there's also been an Avatar The Last Airbender live action in the works for several years now. And I'm upset about a lot of these. Let's talk about How to Train Your Dragon and Avatar first, because those are probably the ones I have the strongest feelings about. The How to Train Your Dragon movies are, in my opinion, one of the best animated trilogies and just one of the best animated series of movies that they have. It is very well done, and the story is good, and I love the characters. They're funny, and they're just such amazing movies. I see no reason for there to be a remake. These movies are perfectly fine on their own. There is nothing about them that needs change. In the case of Avatar, that show is about as close to perfection as you can get, in my opinion. They do everything so well. The character arcs are so natural and developed and well written. Why do we need another one? The show is still there. The show is on Netflix. You can buy DVDs. Don't need to make another. And I hate that Hollywood studios can't just accept that. I can't remember the exact video it's in, but Friendly Space Ninja, who makes various videos about movies and TV shows, he stated that oftentimes shows don't know when to quit. Whether it's because the network renews them for a new season and the story was done, or they just want to milk more money out of it, there is usually a time where the shows can call it quits and they would have ended on a good note. However, they keep going, and as a result, they lose their fan base and they run the show into the ground. A little different concept, but I think it could be true about remakes in the sense that we have good shows and movies. You are continually trying to drag out this franchise for money when there is no need. Ever since the announcement of the Harry Potter remake, a lot of people have been upset about it for many reasons. For one, again, the original movies are good. They don't need to be replaced or remade. The other thing is that there are a lot of interesting stories that you can tell within the Harry Potter universe. It is a very well developed and very full and lively universe. Why do we need a remake of the original series just with a few more details instead of some other series or movies that easily could have also excited the fandom? The one I've seen a lot is that a lot of people have been asking for a Marauders movie or show for years. That was on the table. It would have made fans more excited and less annoyed. On top of that, Harry Potter, the original movies, did not come out that long ago. The first one came out in around 2001, I believe, which is just over 20 years ago. There are a lot of people that remember them coming out that are not that old. I'm on the younger side. And I remember my sister going to see the midnight premieres of the 7th and 8th movies. It's not that long ago. Quoting more YouTubers, Amanda the Jedi has a very strong stance of let's do redemptions, not remakes. Movies that had good premises, but failed due to execution. And I 100% agree, because there are a lot of amazing stories and ideas out there that just didn't get to live to their full potential for various reasons. Now, are there any remakes that are actually good? I mean, I mentioned before that I personally love Maleficent and the live-action Cinderella. I think they're both good movies. They're not that deep. Fun little chick flick to enjoy, if you will. Another remake of a popular film I enjoyed was the 2021 version of West Side Story. Now, the 1960s version won and was nominated for several Oscars, and it is a well-done movie, especially considering the time period that it was made in. I love the costumes, and obviously the songs are great, but I feel that the 2021 remake gets it right. For one, the 2021 remake actually cast Latino actors in the roles of the sharks, which is a big step up from all the white actors they hired to play Latinos in the original. The other thing is they take this idea of what is a gang war. The whole movie is set around fights between these two essentially gangs. And they take that to, I don't want to call it an extreme, but they kick it up a notch. Because in the 60s, TV had to be very sanitized. And a lot of things that we see all the time on TV now were not allowed to be shown. So it gets a little more violent, but I think in this case that's a good thing. We get to see more of the ramifications of the fighting between these two groups. And it goes a little further. It takes this idea of gentrification, where these people are fighting not just because of the race stipulations, but also because they are literally getting kicked out of their neighborhoods and homes because their buildings are getting torn down and they're getting replaced by new buildings that they cannot afford. And overall, the actors and actresses do great. Ariana DeBose does an amazing job as Anita, which clearly a lot of other people thought as well because she won an Oscar for it, which very deserved in my opinion. This movie flew under the radar a lot when it came out. However, I really do think it's the right way to do a remake. For one, there was a proper amount of time given between the two movies. This one came out in 2021. The original came out in 1960s. It also fixes a lot of the mistakes in the original, such as not hiring Latino actors, and delves some more into some of the ideas and interprets them a little differently. In the original, Anybody's is a tomboy who's just also a girl, whereas in the new movie, they interpret this more as a trans character, which I honestly thought was a very good interpretation for what was given to us in the original. Obviously, this is all happening just because Hollywood wants some more cash in their pocket, and I understand that it's easier to make because you already have a story. You don't have to write it out as much. You just have to follow the original. It's just that as a writer myself, I love writing stories, and I want my own original stories to be seen by the world one day, whether as in the form of a movie, a TV show, or a book. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other writers that long for the same thing. We have ideas we want to share. Repeating the same stories that have already had their time just to get a quick buck, I don't like that. It's tired and it's old at this point. I understand that taking on new ideas is risky because you don't know how they're going to pan out and how an audience will react to them, but you'll never know unless you try. Anyways, this was basically just my excuse to rant about this for a while, but if you've stayed this long, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe and do all the things, click all the buttons, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!